Hello, Michael. Thanks for joining us. Recently, the OBSЄ mission in Donbass was attacked. Have you already found out who's behind that attack?
Well, first of all, we very much regret that that happened, that shelling happened near our vehicles, the live fire rather. This isn't the first time, and it is a reminder of the security risks that we have to put up with in that area of the country. But no, we of course reported immediately what had happened. We're still looking, gathering the facts, but I can assure you that because of what happened, we're again looking at our security situation, how we can make our monitors safer, how we can avoid this sort of thing from happening. But you know, yesterday our chair in office, the Swiss foreign minister, called upon all sides for maximum restraint, and that in order for the OBSЄ special monitoring mission to be able to operate in Ukraine, we need two things. We need security and we need freedom of access. And that, unfortunately, is being eroded away. But the mission continues its work throughout Ukraine. We're in 10 cities throughout Ukraine. We're doing our daily patrols. You know, we're fortunate that none of our monitors were wounded or not even damaged to the car, but the live fire came very, very close.
Can you please describe the typical day of the mission observers in Donbass?
Yeah, well, a typical day, they're quite long days, and every day is different in the sense that some days are very good in terms of access, in terms of security situation. And then, I'll be frank, in some areas the security situation can be so difficult that even some days our monitors cannot go out. But usually they go out on patrols, usually 2 vehicles, and 3 or 4 people per vehicle. And our mandate is basically to establish the facts and report on reported incidents. So, for example, you remember a few months ago we had buildings in eastern Ukraine, administrative buildings being occupied. So we would go, we would establish the facts and then report on them. Our reports go out to 57 participating states of OBSЄ, including, of course, Ukraine. And then it's not up to us to draw conclusions, but for the states to, you know, draw conclusions and take action if need be. The other thing we do, other than daily reporting, is we also facilitate dialogue and we facilitate access. A few days ago, we actually brokered a temporary truce, a day of tranquility, if you will, in Trochizbenka in Luhansk Oblast. It's a small village on the Ukrainian side of the front line, but near the front line, and it was being heavily shelled. So there's no running water, electricity, heating. So for entire 12 hours, we negotiated, got this agreement for a temporary truce, and utility workers from Severodonetsk and humanitarian aid was able to go in there for the day. So that's an example of how we keep communications open with the rebel groups in order that we can, you know, get these things done. Also, your viewers, of course, remember M817. We continue to this day to also get access to the crash site so that experts can go there and pick up the wreckage, human remains, personal belongings.
Regarding your work in the tow, who plans the routes and who arrange the itinerary? How many people knows about the spots where the mission is going to come?
Yeah, well, we have team leaders in each of the 10 cities where we're working, and every day, of course, they plan their patrols in consultation with operations here in headquarters. What we do, which is very important, is we do inform both sides of our plans for the day, where we're going, so that in this conflict zone, they know that we're present, let's say in Slovyansk or in Torez or wherever. You know, there should be no doubt at any moment in time where we're actually operating. But the security rules are quite strict. We do security assessment every day, sometimes a few times a day, to determine whether it's safe. I can tell you that it's a very, very complex operating environment. The situation changes very quickly, very often with no notice whatsoever. So we have to be extremely careful. And again, you referred to the live fire, you know, the other day. People often forget that our monitors put up with a lot of risk. a lot of security challenges, and they're very, very brave men and women. We really take our hats off to them.
But on the other hand, if they know, I mean both sides, if they know where the OSCE mission is going to come and what places to visit, does it pave the way for the rebels and for Ukrainian army to hide something? How do you think?
We have nothing to say that's what's happening. They have an idea of where we're going. They don't have exact details. But I can tell you that I personally was on one mission that we did to MH17, and both sides had agreed to a ceasefire. One of them did not honor that, we don't know who, and there was shelling nearby and the operation had to stop. This is unacceptable. You know, when both sides agree to a ceasefire, especially for something as crucial as MH17, you know, there are families waiting for their remains to be brought back, for evidence to be collected. You know, these agreements need to be honored.
Let's talk about the Russians in the OSCE missions in the East. How many Russians are now there?
So right now we have, out of total of almost 300, we have 19 members from the Russian Federation. And that compares though with, for example, we have over 170 from the European Union. So at the moment, we don't have any one country which has over 10% of the membership of our monitors. I have to tell you that as a participating state, Russia, like any other of the participating states, has the right to nominate monitors to join the mission. And they sign a very strict code of conduct in terms of behavior, in terms of sharing of information. And also they go through very rigorous training, both in Austria and also here in the capital in Kiev before being deployed to the field. We also, thirdly, we work in very tight teams. So when you join our mission, for example, in my case, I'm from Canada. I'm not representing Canada, but I'm representing the OSCE. So I think that's widely understood. You know, and it's really unfortunate that there are so many unsubstantiated reports going on. For example, 2 weeks ago, it was reported in Ukrainian media that we have 80% of our monitors in Mariupol are Russian. It's totally untrue. There was only one there. So,
but the Ukrainian media also reported that Russian representatives in the mission, according to this media, they have quite close ties to the self-proclaimed governments in the East, and there are some even rumors that they were spotted drinking beer with the governments and so on. What do you think about all this?
I've heard these rumors, and I think, again, they're very unfair. As I said, in order for us to accomplish what we can, we have to have contact even with the rebel side. And I doubt those reports that we're fraternalizing with the rebels, but we do meet with them regularly in order to maintain the dialogue and in order to establish the access. And the other thing I should remind people is that many countries have monitors nominated to the mission who come from their respective foreign ministries or ministries of defense or police services. So it's not unusual for monitors to have come from a particular government unit in their respective country.
One another controversial topic regarding the Russian troops, the OSCE mission has never reported about Russian troops on the Ukrainian territory. At the same time, the official authorities in Kiev provided a lot of evidence, and the question is how did it happen that our military officials, they saw them and you don't?
Well, I'll tell you this, is that 3 and now I think it's 4 separate occasions, including as recently as yesterday, we reported that we have actually spotted, observed, verified the arrival of unmarked military convoys coming towards Donetsk. And in the 3 biggest cases, these were altogether 172 vehicles or so, and they were unmarked. They were taking with them or towing with them heavy artillery, like 120 millimeter howitzers, like multiple rocket launch systems. So we cannot establish their identity, but you know, it's for others to draw conclusions and take action. Also, just recently we reported on the streets of Luhansk that we observed gentlemen there in camouflage, wearing Russian insignia, flags, and so on their uniforms. I don't mean to make light of these things, but these aren't people who carry around business cards or are openly going to tell you where they come from. But the fact that we have been reporting on this is very, very important. We are the ears and eyes of the international community on the ground in a very complex conflict zone. And I remind people, imagine if we were not there. Imagine if we did not report that these convoys were arriving. Again, it's up to others to draw conclusions, but I think we have been very faithfully and accurately reporting on the build-up, unfortunate build-up of heavy artillery and the arrival of men who are very heavily armed.
Another question. You have started using drones.
Yes.
Have you already unveiled something very interesting using that technology?
Well, I think the way to answer that is we've tested their capabilities. We've received still images and video from the skies. They're very, very accurate. They have very sophisticated Canadian-made cameras on them that are able to really get lots of detail. We haven't yet released any of the footage or images to public yet, but if we do decide to do so, it'll be up to our chief monitor. They have been subject to bad weather. Right now it's winter, as you know, winter weather, and they have been subject to electronic jamming, military-grade electronic jamming, and also on at least one occasion live fire. But recently we've modified them so that they're more robust, they're stronger, and they can hopefully withstand that electronic jamming that was happening from the ground. But these are going to be our eyes in the sky. We treat them like almost like monitors. We have 4 of them at the moment, and we hope to receive more. And they have a range of 100 kilometers, they can fly at high altitude, and they can travel quite fast. So these are going to be a real enhancement to the mission.
You have monitors on the both sides. Personally, how do you think, is it possible to work over and over in the same place and not to get biased?
So we have, of course, a special monitoring mission here in Ukraine. We're at almost 300 monitors in 10 locations, plus some patrol hubs. But then on the Russian side of the border, there's a border checkpoint monitoring mission. It's a lot smaller than ours. It's about 20 monitors. And they monitor 2 quite busy checkpoints on the Russian side. So for example, they've been reporting on the crossing of the so-called humanitarian convoys from Russia. They report a lot on the movement of people, both civilians and both those that, well, are in military type of uniform. And they have also, for example, been reporting on trucks of coal going from Ukraine into Russia. Now, again, their mandate only allows them to operate at those 2 points. We have said that we will be involved in border monitoring. However, our numbers are still growing. It won't be until January that we're at 500. We're waiting for more armored vehicles to come. And as you know, that border is very long, several hundred kilometers. So we have to be realistic, manage expectations, and you know, we can't be everywhere all at once, but we will do our best to help you know, extend our monitoring mission to as many points along the border as we can.
Michael, and the last question. A lot of my colleagues, reporters who are currently working in the hotspots in the east of Ukraine, they say that separatists are preparing for offense rather than for defense. What do your report state on that?
Well, you know, in September, the Minsk agreements were signed. All sides agreed to certain things, and one of the biggest provisions in there was the withdrawal of heavy weaponry. I can tell you that since then, unfortunately, we have not seen or we've not been informed of one single incident where heavy weaponry have been withdrawn, nor have we seen the pullback of military personnel. And in fact, we have been reporting on more shelling, especially in Donetsk. We've been reporting on the increasing toll on human life, increase in deaths, injuries, hundreds of thousands of people displaced, and as I indicated earlier, a lot of towns and villages are being heavily shelled, their utilities are being wiped out, and people are going to have a very, very tough winter. So if you take that scenario together, we're not seeing de-escalation, we're seeing escalation, and we're seeing, again, as recently as yesterday or the day before, the arrival of these unmarked military convoys. We remain hopeful. We are committed to President Poroshenko's peace plan. We are committed to, as much as possible, supporting the implementation of the Minsk Accords. But it takes a lot of, it's going to take a lot of political will on all sides. And also our Chief of Mission, Ambassador Apakan, has appealed to all sides for maximum restraint. The most important thing, in my opinion, is that if there's no dialogue, we're in big trouble. So we have to have that dialogue continue to achieve that path to peace. And our mission will do all we can in terms, again, of supporting dialogue and also in terms of telling the world what is actually happening on the ground. Because if we're going to have a ceasefire, of course it has to be observed and reported on. So again, we're going to, even though it's a big risk, our monitors are very, very brave men and women. They are out there every day trying to help the country achieve that peace.
Thank you for this talk, Michael, and let's stay hopeful.
Indeed, thank you.